Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins has pledged to start paying out tens of billions in aid to victims of Hurricane Helene later this month. But delays are already making it harder this year for some farmers to plant crops. Congress set a deadline of March 21st to hand out the money when it passed a $100 billion disaster relief package. The September 2024 storm cut a swath from Florida into North Carolina, causing more than $10 billion in estimated damages to farmers. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 82 points, the Nasdaq rose 212. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hey, let me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free, too, with their 3-week Quick Start Kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
You want to give your dogs the very best. No matter what they're eating, you should add Dr. Fido's to every bite. Don't just take our word for it.
I just started giving Kipper tons of the Dr. Fido's product. He actually started eating all of his food. Like, I actually had to give him more. The product has been very successful for both dogs.
Go to drfidos.com and subscribe to save $20 each month. That's drphytos.com.
Hey.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
Stocks finished mixed after getting some relief from an encouraging inflation update. The S&P 500 climbed 0.5% after skidding between an even bigger early gain and a later loss. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also pinballed between gains and losses and wound up 0.2% lower. The Nasdaq Composite added 1.2%. AI stocks led the way, but U.S. companies targeted by tariffs announced by Europe and others weighed on the market. Harley-Davidson and whiskey maker Brown-Forman fell. The Dow was down 82 points to close at 41,350. The Nasdaq Composite was up 212 to 17,648. The S&P 500 gained 27 points to 55.99. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm John Scott.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening with the low dipping down to 49. Tomorrow it's more clouds than sunshine. The high temperature is 76. For Friday, look for a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high reaching 78. While on Saturday, late showers are possible. For Sunday, pretty nasty. We're going to have thunderstorms. Heavy rain is expected. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornblut and Chris Bergen. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil and Chris with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. We come to you from Nashville, Tennessee, home of the SEC basketball tournament. This afternoon, South Carolina's season came to an end. A game so similar to many others this season for a Gamecock basketball team that just underachieved. Close losses are fine to talk about, and close losses are fine to point to as a reason why your record is really bad, but they're still losses, and they still count. You can't just shrug them off. You got to figure out why. 7 times you lose games by 5 points or less. If it happens 1 or 2 times, okay, that's just basketball. But 7 times, you got to figure out why. What don't we have? Who do we not have? What are we not doing? What play are we not calling? What are we not executing? Why does this happen? Happen again today with the Gamecocks as they lose to Arkansas in the first game of the SEC tournament here at Brookstone Arena in downtown Nashville, 72-68. Details coming up in just a moment. Texas is hanging on against Vanderbilt. This would be an upset. It is 74-67. Texas leading Vanderbilt. And we've got about, funny thing about their scoreboard, it's a beautiful scoreboard. It's graphic, but they don't have the clock on the scoreboard. They've got the scores, and they've got the SEC emblem between the scores. So, and I'm way up here in the hockey press box, Chris Bergen. So I'm way up here at the top of the arena, and I'm trying to look down on the little miniature scoreboards atop the baskets. Okay, 58 seconds to go. Can you believe that? They don't have the clock on this massive scoreboard. I don't understand. I guess they figure they got clocks everywhere else. But anyway, inside of a minute, Texas has led most of the way, if not all the way. Had a comfortable lead, and now it's down to 8. Just like in the South Carolina game, Chris, where the Gamecocks fell into a big hole. 20 points they were down in the second half. They put together a massive rally and got back to within 2 points on several occasions, and they ran out of gas, just like their season. They ran out of it with this loss today. So just your thoughts overall. You watched it from afar, and then I'll added my thoughts from watching it courtside.
And I watched with the clock, too. I knew exactly how much time was left. And when I had to go run over to Darlington, Derek Scott did a nice job of updating the time. I'm just befuddled. I can't imagine what the Predators radio guys have to deal with if the scoreboard clock is not up and running for hockey. But that's beside the point. I will actually answer your question, Phil, and it's the number 70. And as a matter of fact, that was the 8th loss this season for South Carolina in games decided by 5 points or less. They were 1-8 this year. The only win, of course, against Clemson was the only one that they won when they were within 5 points. But 70 points this year was the plateau for the Gamecocks. I looked through the entire season. They were 1-16 this year when they scored less than 70 points. They had 20 losses. 16 of them occurred when they had fewer than 70 points. They were 11-4 this year when they scored 70 or more points. So they were missing one other offensive weapon to help them out. That's the difference between last year's team and this year's team. They just didn't have enough help for Colin Murray Boyles, who I thought played very well today. Another double-double for him. Actually hit a 3 early, and I was thinking about our conversation that we had earlier in the week about him not shooting threes. Knocked down an open look early. The Gamecocks came out, shot it well in the first half. And that's where, Phil, I think you'll probably agree, they lost this game in the first half. They made the great run in the second half, but if they don't get down so much because they had no interest in playing defense in the opening half. I heard Eddie Shannon, assistant coach for the Gamecocks, on the radio postgame, and the one thing he pointed to, he said the effort for them against Arkansas the first go-round in Columbia was off the charts for 40 minutes. They played about as hard as they possibly could play, and you saw what happened. They just disrupted and blew out the Razorbacks in the first meeting. He said today they played like that for about 20 minutes in the second half, and their goal at halftime was to hold Arkansas to 23 points or less. They held them to 25 in the second half. They just gave up way too many in the first half. You can't give a team like Arkansas 47 points in the opening half and hope you can come back and win in a tournament game. They lost that game in the first 20 minutes.
Yes, they did. I mean, they fell way behind. The game turned in the last couple of minutes of the first half. It was a relatively tight ball game, and then Arkansas scored the last 11 points of the first half over a 3-minute span, and that made it 47-30. And you're right, that is their 8th 5-point or less loss this year. I counted it up and forgot to add this game. So I had the 7 that were on the schedule and then forgot to add this one. So this is 8. The lead grew to 20 with 17:08 to play. The Gamecocks began to chip away, and they did exactly what Eddie Shannon said. Defense turned up. They hit the boards. They really won the boards in the second half. They forced some turnovers. They made some shots. They were down 61-48 with 10:36 to go, then went on a 12-0 run. That made it 61-60, 4:20 left. And then Murray Boyle scored 9 of those 12 points in what could be his final game with USC. More on that coming up. Gamecocks had the momentum. Razorbacks were reeling. And then one of Arkansas's best players hit the biggest shot of the game, in my opinion. DJ Wagner, their team really struggling. He got a good look at a deep three, and he hit it. And that made it back to a 4-point lead for Arkansas. That kind of took a little bit of the stuffing out of the Gamecocks.
Oh, yeah.
Now they're down with 2:37 to go. They're down 4. Still, you're in the ball game. The last good opportunity, though, 47 seconds to go. Jacoby Wright, who had a nice game, he hit a jumper, pulling them within 66-64. Janelle Davis then scored 4 straight for Arkansas to make it 70-64 with 17 seconds to play. Wright scored another basket. Then the Gamecocks, full court press, forced a turnover. Cam Scott, hello Cam Scott, had his best game of his career, and we'll talk about that in a moment. He got a steal off the inbounds, went in for a dunk. Now you could say maybe he should have stopped outside and taken a three, but the moment it was wide open to the rim. He just took it to the rim and dunked it, made it 70-68 with only 3 seconds left. Gamecocks had to foul. They fouled Davis. He made both free throws. That put the game out of reach with a 4-point spread. The Gamecocks held Arkansas to 32% shooting in the second half. They forced 8 turnovers. They also grabbed 11 offensive rebounds. They converted into 12 points. That was all in the second half. Murray Boyles led the way with 20 points, 12 rebounds. He fouled out with 2 seconds left. The double-double, the 9th of the season, the 11th of his career. Jamari Thomas had 16 points. Wright had 13. Nick Pringle, who had 18 points and 9 boards in the win over Arkansas 11 days ago, was held to 3 points and 4 rebounds. The Razorback, in the postgame, they made a concerted effort to offset the Gamecocks inside with their own size. The Hogs won the paint 30-26. I mentioned Cam Scott, who's played very little this year for a guy that came in with such high acclaim. He came off the bench. He scored 8 points. He grabbed 4 rebounds. And his time on the court corresponded with that Gamecock second half run. They trailed by 8 when he subbed out with 8:41 to play. He didn't come back in until there were 17 seconds left. So for whatever reason, they decided to, after he hit a couple of deep shots too, but they took him out and he didn't come back in. Arkansas had 4 players in double figures, led by Trayvon Brazile with 16 points. Jonas Adu really hurt the Gamecocks in a big way in the first half. He had 14 points. He had 8 rebounds, but he did not score in the second half. So the Gamecocks are now 22-33 all-time in the SEC tournament, 3-10 in the Bridgestone Arena. After winning their first game last season, they were looking to have at least one win in consecutive SEC tournaments for the first time since 2014-2015. That didn't happen. Arkansas breaks a 3-game losing streak to USC with this win. They are 32-31 all-time in the SEC, and they are 20-12, and they'll play Ole Miss tomorrow afternoon. And now, after 3 seasons, Lamont Paris is 49-49 at South Carolina. So now the question becomes, what's the roster going to look like? Who's coming back? Who's leaving? Colin Murray Boyles was asked in the postgame. He said he's got to take some time to talk to his family, talk to the coaches, I'm sure talk to his agents, just talk to his circle of people and get their thoughts and get their input. So that remains, of course, the big off-season question mark for South Carolina, Chris. And, of course, he has to weigh, am I ready for the NBA? What's the financial side of things for the NBA? Could another year in college, do I want to go out this way? Could another year at home in college with my girlfriend still playing in college as well? I'm assuming Chloe Kitts will be back. I'm assuming they're still together. I have no reason not to think so, though I don't follow their day-to-day activities. But anyway, there's a lot of reasons for him to come back, not to mention the fact that South Carolina should play the NIL game and put a lucrative deal at his fingertips. I mean, if you're going to pay Lenore Sellers $1.8 million, your quarterback of your football team, you want to help get the basketball team back in shape for next year, you bring back Murray Boyles, you make him an offer like that, I would think that might be a little hard for him to turn down, though I know, of course, he could make more as a first-round NBA pick. But is he ready? Is he really ready? I mean, he had a really good game today. Is his game complete enough to go to the NBA and be a contributor or just be a two-way guy, maybe a guy in the G League for a while? You sit on the bench for a while like Jermaine O'Neal did. Jermaine O'Neal was not ready for the NBA when he went. He sat for a few seasons before he finally got it going. That's something he's got to decide. Now, one thing that was written, and I don't know what this individual knows or why he would write this, but Joe Minzer with the SEC Network wrote the post-game story on the website for the SEC, and in his story, as he was just writing his story, he wrote, quote, in his final game as a Gamecock, Murray Boyles was spectacular in the second half to finish with 20 points and 12 rebounds. So I don't know if he knows something, but that's how he put it, in his final game as a Gamecock. So take that for what it's worth. So, and also, post-game, the younger guys like Cam Scott, they all said they're coming back. The guys that can come back, the younger guys, all told the media in the post-game that, Conyers said he'd be back. Scott said he'd be back. So they've got a fairly decent nucleus. They've got a good-looking recruiting class coming in. Got to figure out the point guard situation. Got to get that distributor. But if they can have Murray Boyles coming back next year, I mean, that really changes the dynamic for this team for next season.
Oh, no doubt. And you wonder if Eli Ellis is the answer there, the kid out of Hickory, or is he more of a scoring guard as opposed to a point guard? And you wouldn't think that Grant Polk, one of the other guys they're bringing in, 6'7" kid, he sounds more like a small forward than he does a guard. So if they can get the point guard position squared away, which is something they desperately need, and then find a way, unless Collins thinking in going to the NBA draft, you can't be upset about him doing that. But if he's going to stay in college, you've got to make sure it's at South Carolina, because he's clearly your best player, and he's an easy building block. And did we see the emergence today of Cam Scott? And I think it's fascinating you brought up the point he only played 8 minutes. And if you look at the breakdown, if you buy into some of the basketball analytics, the plus-minus situation, he was by far the best. He was a plus 16. So that meant that when he was on the floor, the Gamecocks were 16 points better than Arkansas. And everybody else made up for the deficit, because guys like Zach Davis was a minus 13 today. Nick Pringle was a minus 11 today. Bozeman Verdonk was a minus 11 today. So you got really good, albeit a small sample size, you got a really good play from Cam Scott, and you just wonder why he didn't get more playing time as the second half was unfolding. He may have been in a situation he just couldn't go anymore. 8 points, 4 rebounds today, but maybe that's his coming out party. Maybe that tells him, Cam, this is what we expected to see of you all year, and maybe going into the offseason he can continue to work on his game and gain some confidence from today, because he was that spark plug that they needed certainly in the second half. Yeah,
another young one who said he'll be back is Jordan Butler, who came off the bench, played 17 minutes. He was active. He hit his first deep three. Then he missed the rest. He was 1 for 3 from 3, 2 for 5 from the floor, 5 points, but 4 rebounds for him. I think he also had a block in there. So he was
2 of them.
He was a lot more active, but he has got to get bigger and stronger. I mean, he was just bullied inside a few times, to the point where on one occasion, it might have been Adu, I can't remember, the big, just banged him to the point where he was grabbing his chest, his stomach area on the way back down the floor, because he got beat up inside. So he's going to have to get bigger and stronger and more aggressive. But he's certainly got talents. And don't forget, they've got the big man who arrived in January, who sat out the season. If he's a player, he's another big guy that can help them inside. So that's something else to think about looking ahead to next year. We're going to hear from the Gamecocks after the break. Let you hear from Lamont Parrish. Hear from Jacoby Wright. Jacoby Wright ends his career 13 points. Had a good, solid game. 13 points, 4 assists, but pretty much miscast in his role this season, with the Gamecocks being forced to play major minutes when maybe a lesser role maybe kind of suited his skills like it did last year. Okay, we'll have more from Nashville. Catch up on other things after the break.
I'm State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Whether it's becoming a teacher, dentist, or engineer, every child deserves the chance to chase their dreams. Investing in a child's education with Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan, can help turn those big dreams into next steps. So don't wait. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine it. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
You're listening to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. We're back in a moment.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Hosteller Brown. Did you know your will is designed for your assets to pass through the probate court? If you want to keep your loved ones out of court, a revocable trust is a great place to start. Visit lawyerlisa.com for more information and to see how we can help.
Call Lawyer Lisa. Experience the difference with Lawyer Lisa.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Every lottery ticket purchase keeps education in our state moving forward. In fact, the lottery has raised more than $200 million for state school buses to get our students to school safely every day. Then, the lottery helps those students go even further in their education by funding the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. So remember, when you play the lottery, you're keeping South Carolina students on the road to success. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
All right, catch up on some other things besides South Carolina's game today against Arkansas. Other basketball, Texas has defeated Vanderbilt 79-72, so Texas advances. I don't know. They were talking today about 13 SEC teams making it, and that would include Texas and Oklahoma. At the ACC, Georgia Tech beat Virginia 66-60. Virginia announced that the interim coach is not going to be retained, so they'll have a full search for a new head coach. Looks like Hubert Davis isn't going to go anywhere. 76-56 over Notre Dame, so the Tar Heels are 21-12, 13-7. Is that going to be good enough to get them in? That should be good enough to get them in. They are North Carolina, right?
It is North Carolina, yeah. It may not be good enough for Clemson and or South Carolina, but it'll certainly be good enough for the Tar Heels. They played themselves, I think, off the bubble and into the tournament.
Yeah, they had a very strong finish. Except for the loss to Duke, the two losses to Duke, but after the big loss to Duke in Durham, they really kind of righted the ship and played pretty well. Tonight, Coppin State and South Carolina State, 7 o'clock tip in the MEAC tournament. Coming up here tonight, LSU, Mississippi State, and Oklahoma and Georgia. And coming up next at the ACC tournament, Syracuse and SMU. And the winner there will get Clemson tomorrow in the quarterfinal rounds. And Smitty will be in Charlotte to cover that for us. Clemson baseball this afternoon. They are leading Liberty, going for the sweep of the two-game series, 6-1 in the middle of the seventh inning. Peño has a home run for the Tigers, and Gaffney homered again. That's 2 days in a row for him. He's starting to warm up as it gets warmer. 6-7-1 for the Tigers, 1-4-0 for Liberty on the mound today for Clemson. Again, looks like a bullpen game. Samuel, Kick, Fitzgerald, Cole, Dvorsky, and Lee have all pitched for the Tigers. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. What's funny?
Sounds like a basketball team as opposed to a baseball team. You don't normally run into oddball names like that. Not that those kids are oddball names, but yeah, a little stranger than you normally expect to see from a baseball team.
Dvorsky
like
should be. Yeah, Dvorsky should become an attorney and specialize in divorces. I'm
No
your
doubt.
attorney, Mr. Dvorsky. I can help you out. A couple of other things, and we'll squeeze in a quick call. Hank is standing by, so we want to hear from him. There's a couple of other things I wanted to mention very quickly here. And we're going to hear from Brad Brownell where he says he's not talking about the Indiana job. LSU's NIL budget, I guess this is for football, has more than doubled in recent months. It's now north of $18 million. Pete Nakos of ESPN reporting that. Just giving you an idea of what schools are doing, $18 million plus there. And the Ross Dellinger reporting, according to sources, House implementation team has determined that third-party NIL deals that pay athletes after July 1 are subject to the clearinghouse, and NIL deals signed after the settlement approval is subject to the clearinghouse as well. The power conferences and the NCAA formally announced today the creation of a new model and enforcement arm for college athletics as part of the House revenue sharing concept, something that Dellinger had previously reported. Gray Collegiate is bringing back as their head basketball coach a very familiar face. He's the guy that kind of led the program to notoriety, Dion Buffet, after Carlos Powell left after one season. And now Dion Buffet is coming back after spending a season at Gray Collegiate. Reggie Anderson of News 19 and Lou Bajak of the State reporting that information today. All right, quickly, Hank is waiting. Sure he has some thoughts on the USC loss today, the Gamecock team. Hank, welcome in. How are you? Good to have you with us.
Hey, I'm doing fine, Corn. I was calling kind of about the Colin Murray Boyle thing. I think sometimes when I hear folk talk about him, they look at him in terms of what he looks like when he's with South Carolina, and a lot of his NBA stock going up came about when he went to the NBA training camp where he's playing, where he was playing at the camp and what he looked like against other players who were going to be in the pros and drafted. And so that's where he sticks out, because a lot of times when we see him, we never see him playing somebody that plays him one-on-one or straight up. He's always being doubled down or brought with a bigger guy that's a center or something. But when you put him on the floor with other guys of like talent, then he probably elevates way past what you could think. It's kind of like when Anthony Edwards was at Georgia. Both games against us, he didn't look that great. We did a lot of stuff to take him out because the other guys weren't that good. When he got to the league and people were having to play him one-on-one, he looked like a totally different dude.
Good point.
Really good point.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, maybe that's something he's thinking about. You know, maybe he's just thinking, I mean, I can't think for him. I'm thinking what he might be thinking, which is, I've done all I can do here for 2 years. I go ahead and take this next step. I can develop and take my game to the next level. I mean, we can't, as basketball fans in the state and as Gamecock fans, you know, you can be selfish and wish that he would come back for another year and think that would be in his best interest, but he might not see it that way. So we shall see. Thank you, Hank. We're going to hear from CMB and Jacoby Wright and Lamont Paris after the break.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening with a low dipping down to 49. Tomorrow it's more clouds than sunshine. The high temperature is 76. For Friday, look for a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high reaching 78. While on Saturday, late showers are possible. For Sunday, pretty nasty. We're going to have thunderstorms. Heavy rain is expected. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Are you ready to have a boatload of fun this spring? Sail on down to your local Palmetto State Armory store and deck yourself out in our new lifestyle t-shirts, hats, and fishing shirts. Seize the day with brands like Hey Dudes, Costa, Turtle Box, Local Boy, and more. Our selection of rifles, pistols, and shotguns is sure to impress. So don't be left fishing for something to wear once the warmer weather has arrived. Check out one of our 9 retail locations or PalmettoStateArmory.com to outfit your next adventure.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting Kuwait has released a group of American prisoners, including veterans and military contractors jailed for years on drug-related charges. That's according to Jonathan Franks, a representative for the detainees. The move Wednesday is seen as a goodwill gesture between two allies. The freed prisoners have been flown to New York amid a U.S. government push to bring home Americans jailed in foreign countries. President Trump is openly challenging U.S. allies by increasing tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports to 25%, as he vows to take back wealth he says was stolen by other countries, drawing quick retaliation from Europe and Canada. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was down by 82 points. The Nasdaq rose 212. More details at srnnews.com.
People hear me talking about Broker Solar and how much I like Ken and his team. They ask, hey, can I really trust this guy, Kev? Let me tell you two things. Number one, Ken and Broker Solar are legit. I've known Ken's family for 20 plus years. Seriously, these are local, ethical people. They're not going anywhere and they do things the right way. Number two, Broker Solar is so different than these stereotypes we've heard about in the solar industry. There's no signs on the yard making stupid promises they can't keep. There's no door knockers trying to pressure you at your own door. Ken and Broker Solar will tell you the truth, what it'll cost, and how your solar power investment will pay off. See, we can't pick our power companies. Broker Solar gives you a chance to take some control over your power bill, and I like that, and so should you. Online, it's brokersolar.com, and seriously, reach out to Ken and these folks. It could really make a difference in your quality of life. Brokersolar.com, empowering you so you're not powerless.
Tradition and quality. That's what you get with H&J Cattle Company, where local third-generation farmers ensure you receive the finest beef in South Carolina. Our registered Hereford and Wagyu cattle are raised with sustainable practices without growth hormones, antibiotics, or animal byproducts. Taste the difference with the highest quality beef guaranteed. Order now at HandJCattle.com or on Instagram and Facebook at H&J Cattle. Again, HandJCattle.com, where ethics meets quality.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Escape the hustle and bustle of everyday life with Spa MD, your sanctuary of rejuvenation. Feel the tension melt away as our expert team guides you through your customized wellness journey. From soothing massages to revitalizing treatments, we promise a remarkable experience that leaves you feeling renewed and empowered. Discover the calm within every visit. Reach out at 251-9400 or online at visitspamd.com to explore your options. Your oasis of tranquility awaits.
Imagine a cooler home this summer and a warmer one during winter without the sky-high power costs. Redbird Windows and Doors offers you the solution with our state-of-the-art energy-efficient windows and doors. Locally operated, we promise a hassle-free experience with our expert team handling everything from consultation to installation and doing so flawlessly. Upgrade your home's comfort and cut down those energy bills. Visit redbirdwindows.com or call us 727-0561 today. Redbird Windows and Doors. Local experience matters.
Touchdowns to three-point shots, we've got it all, tying the knots, bringing you the latest scoop. Sports Talk's the absolute truth. Sports Talk's the place to be. From the court to the field, we're breaking news free.
Welcome back, everybody. Sports Talk here on the Sports Talk Media Network. Phil Kornblut here in Nashville, in downtown Music City, at the Bridgestone Arena. Chris Bergen at the Berge Palace, where they don't have a bunch of music. They don't have a bunch of, well, maybe they have the booze. They don't have the music. Here they got the music and the booze, and everybody who goes out on Broadway has a really good time here in Nashville. Getting ready for the next game, Mississippi State and LSU. Of course, South Carolina lost to end their season to Arkansas. Texas a winner over Vanderbilt. Does Vanderbilt still make the tournament with this loss today. One thing we do know, though, the season is over for South Carolina if the Gamecocks fall to Arkansas. Another close loss. They fell behind by 20, fought their way back into it, just could not overcome that big deficit. Let's go to the tape, as they say. Pick up the post game with head coach Lamont Paris, along with Colin Murray Boyles and Jacoby Wright.
I told the guys in the locker room that I'm not sure what the favorite day of the season is. There's a bunch of candidates. The first day, the move-in day, first game, league game, all that, tournament time. But I know what the worst day is, and so it's has arrived. But really proud of my team, of the team of guys that are in there, and the way that they responded to coaching and the way that they allowed me to coach them. And people talk about being resilient. Like someone goes on a 2-game losing streak and then they win a game and somebody says, "What'd you learn about your team?" And how resilient they were. But this is a resilient group. To have a lot of close calls and not have the successes that they wanted to in terms of wins, and still know and believe that that's a real thing for us, and then to go to practice every day with that in mind, and then come out in the games and play the way that they played, continued to play. So really proud of them for that. But, we got behind in this game and we dug too big of a hole ultimately, as it turns out. Now we got the thing turned the way that we needed to and had some opportunities, and then, maybe ran out of a little bit of a gas at the end. But again, I think the way the game was played was a microcosm of who these guys are as competitors, and in getting the game back to a manageable place to where we ultimately really believed that we would win the game. So
Sam Hutchins, Clarion Ledger, for both players, but I guess I'll start with Colin. What was the difference in your mind to make the run and eventually make the game close? What changed?
Jacoby, would you take that first?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing was our defensive mentality. We knew we gave up too many in the first half, so we had to really tighten up on defensive in the second half to even give ourselves a chance to be in the game. But I think we did a really good job at that. And, we got it where we wanted. We just didn't finish it out.
Colin?
Piggyback off of that, this is a tough group. We're never going to get deterred from our objective of winning the game. And I think it showed in the second half. As we saw, we gave up in the first half. We really tightened it up. And it really led us to come into about 1 point. We had a lead at 1 point. And that just shows how resilient this team is, like Coach is saying.
Yeah, if both of you guys don't mind taking this, but so many one-possession games or very close games right there at the end. What, as y'all look back on and kind of evaluate those games, what's one thing that needs to change for next year in terms of being able to come out on the opposite side of those?
Colin, would you go first?
Just knowing our objective and what we need to do, instead of having those close games where we might mess up on one play and then try to get it back, but the other team has a full head of steam, and just making the right play at the right times.
Again, if both players don't mind answering, Coach Cal was just in here, Calipari, and he was saying South Carolina, if they're in a different league, he's confident that your record is much, much better. I'm curious how you guys will reflect on this season with the record and maybe not equating to some of the performances.
Colin?
I would say this record that we had doesn't reflect the team that we had. This is a really, really good squad. Even rivals last year's squad. This is a really good team. We just couldn't figure it out late game situations, and especially in away games. But I would say we wouldn't be hanging our heads on this year. It's a lot to learn from this year, especially going next year.
Going off of what he said, I think we could have just been just as fine as in this conference, if you want to be honest. Like Coach said, we were in a lot of games. It came down to a few plays. Those go our way, or we make those go our way. The season would have been a lot different. So I don't think the conference was the problem.
And Jacoby, you're a 4-year guy here, started a bunch of games, very aggressive today, taking 10 shots and scoring a clutch when they're towards the end. Just wanted to get your thoughts on kind of how you finished off the season and what this program has meant to you over the 4 years.
Yeah, it's been everything. 2 staffs, but this staff for 3 years. I'm around them more than I'm around my actual family every day throughout the week. So this is like my family, and I have a bond with all these guys and these coaches for the rest of my life. The program is in great hands. I'm gonna be coming back to the games, and I expect to see the Gamecocks doing big things here on out.
For Colin, just curious, have you made a decision on whether you come back next year or enter the NBA draft? What are your thoughts on that?
That's a discussion for my family, coaches, and my inner circle to discuss later on.
Coach, you guys were able to erase a pretty big deficit and get it down to 1, forced a lot of turnovers. What do you kind of attribute to your ability to be able to get back in this game in the manner that you guys did?
I agree with Colin. I think a lot of it just was defensively. We just were there was a different level of I don't know, not only attention to detail, but I think just in general, I think our urgency, there was a different urgency. I told the guys at halftime if 23 was the number of points that they ended up scoring in the second half, then I really, really liked where we were going to be if that was the number, and that wasn't a hope for me. I hoped that we would hold them to 23. I believed that we could have held them to 23 in the second half, and that was a real challenge. And that your mind as you go out there should be focused on that type of effort and that type of commitment to what was happening on the defensive end, and they did. And so that was part of it, but we also, because of some of those turnovers, we got some really good looks in transition. We did some stuff in the half court too. I still don't think we played, we had a lot of plays we could have made right around the basket and some other things. So I don't think from a performance standpoint we broke any sort of records, but the guys really, they stuck with it. They stuck with it and just continued to get a stop. I don't know how many stops we had in a row. It seemed like a bunch, and we needed a bunch. And so I think it started with the defensive side for us to really sink into what was happening and what was going on in ball screens and how quickly we had to make some of our decisions and rotations. And unfortunately, we didn't do that in the first half a little earlier because it's it changes the landscape of what you're doing in the second half.
I guess you heard what Coach Cal mentioned when I told the players, he says that your record might not equate to how good you guys are. I'm curious if you have had time to think about that, and especially if, on the worst day of the year, like you say, if that's any solace that the record may not match how good you were.
Yeah, I mean, these guys are competitors. It's funny you hear him say that, right? Like, they don't want to be in another league. They want to. Well, you guys would have been good in another. What does that even mean? I mean, we're in this league, and this was the best league, and this is the best league in the history of college basketball, they're saying, by any metric that you would like to choose, including your eyeballs. And so they wanted to be in this league. This is the league that they're in. And there's another world. There's not some other world where we need to play in another league in order to win games. There's another world that we play in this league, and those games go our way. Last year we were 8-2 in similar games. This year we weren't, right? And so that's all it was. And they wanted to be in that. There were some things that we didn't pick up quickly enough in order to win those close games. I mean, there can be reasons why some teams win a lot more of those games, some teams don't. Experience in certain positions might be part of it, but I don't think I would do the disservice to these guys of sort of, I don't know if we played in the. No disrespect to the SoCon. I was in the SoCon for 5 years. If we played in the SoCon, we'd have a better record too, maybe. I don't know. We're in the SEC, and we play the SEC teams. And we played a lot of SEC teams in a way where at one point in the game, they thought the game was over. They thought they were going to lose the game. And we just were not able to get to the finish line in enough of those games.
Do you have any kind of personal feel on what Colin is thinking? And when you have your opportunity to talk with him and his family, do you believe he's ready to go ahead and make the step to the next level? Or with the way things are now, the deal that you guys could offer him, do you think it would be enough to entice him to come back for another year?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's thinking. first. Second of all, like, we just got done with a difficult season that our guys should get a lot of credit. I mean, I don't know if people know anybody. It used to be 18 to 22. You say now it's 17 to like 26 is the window of the age of these guys. But I don't know if you know many young people in that group. Generally speaking, they're pretty quick to pivot if there's adversity in front of them. And this team had a lot of adversity, and they refused to pivot anywhere. So I give them a lot of credit for that. But so like, I don't know. I just haven't really thought about any of that stuff. There'll be a lot of people that will be making a decision on whether they're going to go to the draft or stay, and certainly there are more incentives to stay in college these days than there have been. But I mean, I've always believed if this is about these young men and trying to help them, and when their opportunity is the right opportunity, they should do exactly what's the best that they believe is the best for them. And so if I can provide a little advice for him, it won't be slanted in any direction. And so that's just not who I am. I'm not that selfish. So if I can provide any intel or advice that'll help him ultimately when it comes time to make a decision, then I'll do that.
Lamont, you obviously mentioned you'll have your end of season meetings with the guys and stuff coming up, but what is the process kind of like for you when you're trying to figure out, who's leaving, how you want to, figure out the roster going into, who might be coming back?
Yeah, it's completely different than it was way back 365 days ago. And then obviously when you look back 2-3 years ago, things are completely different. So decisions on both sides are being made by or based on different things than they have been. And so, the one thing that's a little bit unfortunate is a lot of these decisions might end up being, there probably are some business decisions that are going to be made across the country. Does it make it feel a little more transactional? Absolutely. But in some circumstances, it'll make those meetings easier. So we'll start those. I don't even know when. It'll be soon. They're starting sooner and sooner. So we'll start those meetings soon, and we'll, like with anything that we do, we will lead with honesty, and then people will come to conclusions and decisions.
All right, Lamont Paris, I tell you, it felt weird to ask a question to a coach about one of his players about making him a deal the deal you can make him to come back. That's just not natural to ask that question in talking to a college coach. If I'm talking to an NFL, coach or general manager or NBA or whatever, but not college. But those are the kind of questions now that are going to be at the forefront moving forward, Bergie, with this new world that we're all living in and adjusting to and trying to learn. I mean, talking openly about financial deals with your players is going to be par for the course.
Think of the job that basketball coaches have to do right now. Lamont Paris had to go out and recruit. He's got, 3 or 4 guys coming in, high school players that will be coming into the program. Then he's got to re-recruit the guys that are currently in his program, figure out a way to offer them money and pay them to stay. And then, oh, by the way, if I can't fill the roster out of what I already have, then I've also got to go out in the transfer portal, take the money that I have left, whatever little bit of the pie is left, to go out and try and get the 1 or 2 fits, the BJ Max, if you will, that will fit into the team next year, all in the span of about 2 months. Now, you can take the high school recruiting out of the mix, but in terms of re-recruiting his own players, divvying up the money they have available, and then also going out and filling the holes in the roster, that's going to occur before school is out, basically. You've got to have a pretty good idea going into the summer what your roster looks like because, of course, basketball never ends. They'll start, all-season conditioning in about 2 weeks. They'll start the summer workouts where they practice virtually every day, even though they don't call it practice. And, it just never ends. And a college basketball coach now is as much a general manager of a business as he is a coach.
No question about it. And I wonder, he signed a very nice high school class, and they look good on paper, but he signed, I think, 4 So you just wonder, did he sign too many? Because I mean, with if they bring back a bunch of the current guys and you add these 4, how much room are you going to have to go into the portal to address the needs to get an older guy or older guys in there? So they'll figure it out. I guess there's going to be some guys with eligibility who won't be coming back. So we'll see how it all works out. We go to the break. We're going to hear from Clemson coach Brad Brownell, who met with the media today to preview the Tigers in the ACC tournament. They play tomorrow. What's today, Wednesday? Yeah, they play tomorrow against the winner of tonight's game between SMU and Syracuse. And they don't play till allegedly 9:30.
Yeah, it'll be closer to 10.
Good luck with that. Brownell coming up.
When I grow up, I want to be a teacher. I want to be a dentist. I want to be an engineer.
Making dreams come true starts with making a plan. Future Scholar, South Carolina's 529 college savings plan, makes it easy to invest in a child's future education so they can chase any dream. You can start with any amount. Contributions are tax deductible and earnings grow tax-free. Discover the smart, easy way to save for college today at futurescholar.com.
Imagine a scrapbook filled with all your favorite memories of 75 years at Darlington Raceway. Now imagine that scrapbook going 190 miles per hour.
Have you ever? No, I've never.
You don't have to imagine. You need to get to Darlington, where the drivers of today tackle the track too tough to tame, just like they did your first time. NASCAR Throwback Weekend at Darlington Raceway, April 5th and 6th. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. Discover South Carolina.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Major Billy Downer here from the Department of Natural Resources, and DNR is excited to announce the implementation of Go Outdoors SC, a new online licensing and boat titling system that you can access right from your phone. Through this new system, customers can purchase their hunting and fishing licenses, renew their boats, apply for lottery hunt opportunities, and complete electronic harvest reporting requirements. For more information, visit Go Outdoors SC at your local app store.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett, or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. Jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
All right, we switch from the SEC to the ACC. Let's go to Clemson head coach Brad Brownell. The Tigers, a number 3 seed in the ACC tournament. Lofty spot for them. No reason not to think they can't win tomorrow night, and even if they play Louisville, beat them and get to the championship game Saturday night in Charlotte. How cool would that be? Here's Brad Brownell.
I don't think it's really rust. It's just more the anticipation of an excitement to play. I think the 9:30 part is the part that's maybe a little more challenging, is you'd much rather wake up and play, or, certainly play a little earlier. And I do think it helps sometimes the teams that have already played in there and have some good feeling after playing well and winning. It's more maybe that than it is just that it's your first game in that environment, but not really rust from not playing for a couple days, because I don't think that's not that big a deal.
You faced any of the 3 teams you could have played on Thursday night. You've been in this position before, but it is kind of weird, I guess, not knowing who you're playing.
Yeah, it's obviously it's hard. Like, right, yesterday we had practice. Obviously we, 85% of it was just working on us, and then trying to maybe guard a couple things that we think we could potentially have to deal with. And then today, now it's, you got 50% Syracuse, 50% SMU, so you're kind of, trying to do one or two things to just so tomorrow's not your only day to do it. obviously as coaches, we all creatures of habit and we want to be prepared. So that's the more challenging part is you want to feel like your team's prepared and you're doing your job. And it's a little bit, more challenging because you don't know exactly who it is that you're preparing for. But, it's as much of anything as trying to get your guys in a good frame of mind, which our guys should be, and just excited and playing sharply and, with great energy and poise. So hopefully we'll do that.
Coach, what are the most important qualities when you guys are playing against somebody who's already been in the tournament, experienced that intensity to, come in first game? And
yeah, I think that's that's the part that your guys got to get their engine revved up and like ready to go. And the other team has already kind of done that. You don't want to just like, let's feel out how the game goes. You all of a sudden can look up and you're down, and now you're playing from a position of weakness and you're in catch up mode a little bit. And things can accelerate if you're not careful. Tournament games do feel a little bit different. Even, when we're in those neutral site tournament games, they feel a little different in terms of, it feels like a tournament and you're trying to advance and you want to, try to win a championship and you want to do all these great things, but you got to really focus on each possession and just, not get ahead of yourself. And, so I do think that makes it a little bit different than just like a regular season game.
We talked about with Ian, just kind of him being in the training room as much as practicing. Is that still the case for him?
He's better. No, he's better than he was. There was a point in the year there for, I don't know, it felt like a month to 6 weeks where his back was really bothering him. And I think you could just see it in some of his play. He was laboring in certain couple games. He's better now. I don't know if he's 100%. You'd have to talk to him about that, how he feels every day. But, there was a noticeable difference the last couple of weeks, I think, just in how he finished some games and finished plays around the basket and got up and down and just wasn't grimacing or mumbling things under his breath, in timeouts and huddles and, when he was frustrated or upset or, just in a little bit of pain.
I think after the end of the season of last season, you spoke about the ACC tournament potentially winning a championship, I guess. If you guys are able to win one this year, what would it mean to you as a coach?
Yeah, I don't go there right now. It's too much. Obviously, it would be a big deal. Like we haven't done it at Clemson. I haven't had a lot of success in this tournament. But as much as all that is great, what it would mean to my players, what it would mean to our fans, like that's, I'm very cognizant of that. But like, we just need to win the first game. Like, let's just win the first game. Be ready and prepared to try to play well the first night.
Forward, big picture, I'm sure you haven't given this much thought, but your name has come up in the Indiana search a few times. Any comments?
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about potential jobs. I have a great job, and I'm 100% focused on this team and what we've got ahead of us and trying to do everything I can to help us continue to win the next game.
We'll be right back.
WQXL Columbia W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters reporting. President Trump openly challenged U.S. allies on Wednesday by increasing tariffs on all steel and aluminum imports to 25%. During a meeting with Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin, President Trump says his tariffs are aimed at righting past wrong.
The United States of America is going to take back a lot of what was stolen from it by other countries and by, frankly, incompetent U.S. leadership. Grossly incompetent.
The tariffs, which went into effect Wednesday, could have widespread impact on manufacturers and consumers. Annie Macias Murphy is the co-owner and president of JA&M, a contractor for commercial buildings based in Pembroke Pines, Florida. Macias Murphy says her company tried to lock in prices for steel ahead of the tariffs, but she worries rising costs will make it harder for her company to commit to large-scale projects. President Trump is defending his administration's slashing of the Education Department's workforce. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
The administration this week announced more than 1,300 layoffs at the Department of Education. The president said downsizing is necessary.
I feel very badly, but many of them don't work at all. Many of them never showed up to work.
He claimed the best people were being retained, even though he wants to close the department. Thousands more jobs are expected to be cut across the Department of Veterans Affairs, the Social Security Administration, and other agencies. Greg Clugston, Washington.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has accomplished the seemingly unexpected, keeping his Republican majority in line to fund the government. The Republican Speaker was able to convince even the most staunch conservatives who prefer budget cutting to come on board. Now the bill is before the Senate, and Democrats are struggling to respond with an alternative. On Wall Street, the Dow down by 82. More at Town Hall.
Hey, it's big! Rob Schmidt recently beat CNN in key ratings, as millions are tuning into Newsmax. Every night, Rob Schmidt is on Newsmax, revealing the truth about Elon Musk's Doge. Tune in tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern and find out why Rob is the hottest person in cable news. Even President Trump is watching, and he says Newsmax is terrific. Reuters Institute reports that Newsmax is now one of the top news brands in America. Find out why. Just check out Newsmax on your cable system. Get Rob Schmidt with Greta Van Susteren, Rob Finnerty, and much more. Download the free Newsmax app on your smartphone or home TV to start watching. It takes just seconds. With Newsmax Plus, you can watch our great shows anytime. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com and start your free trial. That's NewsmaxPlus.com. Make the switch to Newsmax today.
The trade war is knocking stocks around. The Dow dropped while the Nasdaq and S&P advanced today. We hear more on the day's activities from Seth Sutel reporting from New York City.
Stocks closed mostly higher on Wall Street after getting some relief from an encouraging update on inflation, but jitters over President Donald Trump's trade war still knocked the market around. The S&P 500 climbed 0.5% Wednesday after skidding up and down throughout much of the day. The Dow Jones Industrial Average also bounced between gains and losses. The Dow wound up down 82 points. That's about 0.2%. The Nasdaq Composite added 1.2%. AI stocks led the gains. Nvidia tacked on 6.4%. Companies targeted by tariffs announced by Europe and other countries weighed on the market. Harley-Davidson sank 5.7%. Whiskey maker Brown-Forman lost 5.1%. Seth Sutel, New York.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening with the low dipping down to 49. Tomorrow it's more clouds than sunshine. The high temperature is 76. For Friday, look for a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high reaching 78. While on Saturday, late showers are possible. For Sunday, pretty nasty. We're going to have thunderstorms. Heavy rain is expected. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
From the Bart Fireside Studio, the solution for keeping you warm this winter.
This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We are back on Sports Talk Media Network on this very busy Wednesday night here in Nashville. The SEC tournament will be leaving Nashville and the SEC tournament behind again. Of course, last year the Gamecocks did win a game, so hung around for a couple of days, but not the case today as the Gamecocks are one and done. So we'll turn our attention to Clemson in the ACC tournament, South Carolina State in the MEAC tournament. Of course, Wofford is already in the NCAA tournament. South Carolina women already in the NCAA tournament. Baseball, quick updates. It's Clemson 8-2, top of the ninth over Liberty. South Carolina playing Georgia State. Georgia State leading 1-0, bottom of the second. Of course, Gamecocks open SEC play this weekend at home against Oklahoma. At the bottom of the hour, it's an SC Wild Night here on Sports Talk. Major Billy Downer will join us. Going to be talking turkey hunting season in South Carolina, so get those turkey calls ready. Of course, the golf season is heating up, and that means we welcome back to Sports Talk with the Players' Championship commencing tomorrow at Ponte Vedra. Welcome back, MJ Ward, to Sports Talk. MJ, it is great to have you with us once again for another golf season with the Masters around the corner. But first, it's the Players' Championship. You ready to rock and roll?
Well, it's always an exciting situation when you get to this point in the season, because from this point on through July, there's always going to be at least one key event. And although the Players is not technically a major, it's probably the most coveted title to win besides the four.
Because they like to say they have the best field in golf. Now, is that true ordinarily? And what would make it the best field in golf compared to the other, or to the four majors?
Well, I mean, ultimately, it would be good to have some of the players that are on the live side be in the field. But the thing about, the golf course itself, it was revolutionary when it was created. The commissioner at the time, Dean Beeman, wanted to have an event that was solely within the control of the PGA Tour, because all of the majors are operated by different groups. They're not operated by the PGA Tour. So the Players was really an avenue to get something underneath their umbrella. And then it really kind of took off when Pete Dye was brought into the mix. And, that turned everything around, because then they went to a permanent site. And, I think this is like the 45th time that we've been here in Ponte Vedra. So it's about, creating the atmosphere of the event. And then, of course, one can't forget, when you get to the ending series of holes, particularly the 17th hole, the Island Green, it's created a whole range of visibility for the players that have been able to succeed, and on the other side of the coin, for the players who have failed to finish off, what they were starting to do.
Well, it's a beautiful golf course. It's always fun to watch, and they're getting it underway, activities underway today with this new event called the Creators Classic. And I mention it because the Bryan Bros are playing in this. George Bryan IV tied for first at +1 with Grant Horvat, and then his brother Wesley Bryan tied for sixth at +6. And so I don't know if they're on the course. Do you know much about this event, what the format is and how it's being played out?
Well, I think what it's going to come down to is that when you have golf of the type that we're talking about, you're trying to create an avenue where you can have as much publicity as possible for the event. One of the things about the Players' Championship, when they moved it around, initially it was going to be in March, and then they moved it over, to the time frame of May, and then when they switched it back over to March because of the switch with the PGA Championship, I think what it really comes down to is that you're trying to create more of a buzz for the event, and you see this with a lot of different sports events. You have All-Star Weekend in the NBA. The Major League Baseball tries to do similarly. So you're trying to create more avenues in which you can get attention for whatever is going to happen here. I think it's, I think it's fun to do, but I also think at the end of the day, it's nothing more than a teaser for really what's going to come down the pike.
Yeah. We're just kind of interested in it because we got the two Colombians, the Bryan Bros, playing in it. George's son, so we're keeping a watch on that. I didn't know if are they playing regular golf, or are they playing the course? I don't know. I haven't read the details. Do you know anything about the format or how they're playing?
When it comes down, yeah, it's a 9-hole stroke play event.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. The top 3 finishers after 9 holes, if there is a tie, the top 3 finishers then compete in the sudden death playoff on the 17th hole.
Gotcha.
And again, Phil, this is sort of like a takeoff in a different way of what the par 3 competition is at Augusta National. I mean, so everybody's trying to create some mechanism. I mean, for years, the tour, going back in its early days, they used to have driving exhibitions. They used to do a number of different shot maker things. In other words, to just get people to the golf course, create a buzz so that you can get something going early on the week as opposed to, basically a dry spell until you actually see the tournament kick off. I mean, it's not unusual, but it's an opportunity here to create more buzz. When you look at all the clutter that's on sports right now between NBA, NHL, the college season obviously is at its height right now in basketball. So really it's about trying to bring together a lot of different forces so that people can have a buzz about, the biggest tournament to date right now on the golf season.
Absolutely. Visiting with MJ down at Ponte Vedra. Be there all week. He'll be with us during this time frame, rest of the week. So the news on Tiger Woods, how much of a devastating piece of news was that around the golf world? I can answer that myself. I know it was devastating, but from where you sit, how big was it? And also, how, before this Achilles thing cropped up, how close was he, do you think, to being ready to go, like maybe the Masters? Was he going to be in position to play at Augusta had he not had this injury?
Well, I mean, go back to the 3 words you just said. What does ready to go mean when you're 49 years old? I mean, I frankly, since the 2019 Masters, and you have to keep this in mind, that's almost 6 years ago. It'll be 6 years ago come April that Tiger won there. 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an eternity in sports. I don't want to sound harsh on Tiger. I think his legacy, there's no question it stays in place. It doesn't change one iota. But I don't know how he gets prepared. I mean, Phil, his best finish since the Masters in when he won in 19, he came in 21st in the U.S. Open that same year. In the 14 times he's played in majors since then, he's had almost an equal number of cuts missed as opposed to cuts made. And then in addition to that, he's had difficulty walking. He's even admitted himself that he can't thoroughly practice to the level that he'd like to. But then he also says at the same time, I'm going to just jump in and play, one event a month, or now probably play the majors. This is not like when you go to a tailor, Phil, and you get the suit made and you just jump into a suit jacket and you tell people, I want to fit into a 42 long, and your body isn't 42 long anymore. It's not. And you're still playing in your mind that you still have that size to fit. And I think one of the things that's difficult for Tiger is, he wants to compete competitively. That's within his mental side. But the physical side, the absolute ability to play the kind of golf shots that are necessary to go up against the people that he's playing against, I frankly don't see it. I mean, I wrote today on a column that, it's doubtful that Tiger will ever have a formal news conference where he says, I'm going to retire. I don't think that's ever in his DNA to say that. But I do believe that this idea that somehow, some way, he's going to be back in the picture. I think a lot of this is promoted by media people who want him back. But that train's already left the station, and there's no scores that would indicate to you that, or finishes that he's done. I mean, and if he were to come back to the Players with limited with almost no reps, basically, I mean, I just don't see how that could end up any other place but a miscut. The reason why these guys are where they are on the tour is for a very good reason. They play a high level of golf every single week. And the Tiger Woods story is more about the past than it is about a future. I just don't see where this goes, and I hope he does get better, and hopefully he'll play on the Champions Circuit He turns 50 at the end of this year, at the end of December. So it's possible he could go that route because at least he could take a power cart and not have to walk.
Wow. Tiger Woods playing on the championship circuit, to me, is equivalent to the end of life. I mean, we might as well just be all dead.
Yeah, well, I will say this, even Roy McIlroy came out with a comment.
Tiger Woods was not supposed to get old. MJ, Tiger Woods was not supposed to grow old. He needed to stay young.
you know the thing about with Tiger is that he came of age when so much interest in what was going on with golf. I mean, his entire career is chronologued with all video. I mean, with the Nicklaus and the Palmer era and Gary Player and a lot of these guys when they came in, I mean, a lot of those events, they were limited in terms of television exposure. Everybody got to see it with his entire career, from his amateur days, from the time he was on Mike Douglas when he was like 2 years old, all right? All the way through, have seen him play golf. And you become enamored to believe that you're going to see this continue forever. But the reality is he's nowhere near that anymore. He's had so many surgeries. His body can't function to that level. And, you know, the quality of the golf didn't go down. It's actually intensified. And the amount of guys that are out there now that are playing at a high level, it is what it is. I mean, no person can postpone the inevitability of age. And he's at that point where, yeah, everybody would like to see one more situation. But, Phil, to be realistic with any of these athletes, it's hard to go through this process where you have to admit that you just don't have the game anymore to play at that level. I mean, it's invariably going to happen. It's already happened I should say. Yeah. And I don't know where else we can go with this storyline, but there are people in the media who want to beat the drum about Tiger coming back. There's nothing, to use the expression, Phil, there's nothing there. That's what it's all about.
Yeah. I got about a minute. If you would, give us your top three. Give us your hot three, your top three in Jacksonville.
I mean, I know it's easy to pay, go to the favorites. I think with Scotty Scheffler, it's really a question of, is he now back in the flow where, his tee to green game, Phil, has not really lessened. If he makes putts, he's going to be there in the last 2 or 3 groups. That's inevitable. I'm going to be curious to see, with these new guys that have come on the scene. You had Highsmith winning. You had guys like Russell Henley. There's a lot of talented players, and this golf course does not favor any one style of play. So anybody that you want to pick on your FanDuel chart, they probably have as good a shot as any other place. There's no real one solid favorite, besides guys like Scheffler, McIlroy, Morikawa, less so Xander because he hasn't really played any golf until last week. He started to ramp it up again. So the reality is there's a lot of opportunities for a lot of players here because the track record has shown that.
MJ, we're off to a great start here, as this is when I consider golf season to really, golf's been going on for a month and a half, so we've been following it, but this is when it becomes real serious now, like you said, through July, big events every month. Looking forward to covering it all with you, and we'll talk to you same time tomorrow night.
Phil, it's a pleasure. Enjoy Nashville.
Yes, sir. I'm leaving. I'm done. I'm out of here. Thank you, MJ. You'll be in Jacksonville a lot longer than I was here in Nashville. 18-16, Mississippi State leading LSU, and Georgia State leading South Carolina 1-0. Bottom of the second, Clemson has dusted off Liberty 8-2. Is that a 15-game winning streak, Chris?
That is indeed 15 in a row now for the Tigers.
And they go into ACC play this weekend as conference play begins all across the country, and college baseball recruiting coming up.
Cards hit you with sky-high rates, annual fees, and surprise costs, but not here. Founders Federal Credit Union is proud to offer credit cards with rates below the national average, giving you more control over your finances. Our Essential MasterCard rates are as low as 13.25% APR. Our rewards cards start at just 15.25% APR. points you can earn while you spend. And the best part, there are no annual fees and no balance transfer fees, just straightforward savings, designed to keep more of your hard-earned money where it belongs, in your hands. So whether you're looking to consolidate debt, build credit, or just want a smarter way to spend, we've got the right card for you. Visit foundersfcu.com/cc to learn more or apply for a new credit card today. Relax, you're with Founders Federal Credit Union. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
G3 here with Tsunami Bar Sports, and it's time for a fall preview. That's right, 720 Chris Drive, 378 and I-26, Frontage Road, where you can now preview the best technology for golf known to man. It's the Tsunami Bar. It's live weight. It's the only technology out where you get your tempo and flow going before you play. Now, it also serves as a pattern support tool. 720 Chris Drive, Frontage Road, 378 and I-26. You also can visit the Garage Gym Pro Shop. Pick up your tools, take them home, and while you're here, tour the Scramble Course 6-hole pitch and putt right now.
The Sports Talk Recruiting Report is sponsored by Seawell's Catering.
Okay, time for the recruiting update tonight here on Sports Talk, brought to you by Seawell's. Tomorrow's a Thursday. Sometimes it's Thanksgiving on Thursday. Sometimes it's not. What do we have, Plummer?
As always.
Where'd he go? I can't hear him.
I can't either.
Where'd the plumber go?
I'm here. My headphones came out, and I'm trying to fix it, but I'm still talking. Can't stand by.
Come on,
Fall
man.
down your shorts.
as the landlord would say, come on, man.
I'll talk with my head back. Yeah, I got it.
All right, go ahead. Let's try that again.
Southern fried chicken, as always.
Uh-huh.
Still trying to pull it up here. All right, Southern fried chicken. We got carved roast beef, teriyaki and lemon pepper chicken wings, and shrimp Alfredo.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
What a menu for a big Thursday at Seawell's. Make sure you get there for the daily luncheon buffet, 11 to 2, and it's only $14, $14.50 if you pay with the plastic, 50-cent surcharge. And for the very best for catering issues, like you have an issue with an event coming up and you want food and you want great service and you want it to be prepared properly and delivered properly and then cleaned up afterwards. That is what Seawell's specializes in, okay? So just call them at 803-771-7385 and discuss your event and make your plans with Seawell's, because they are numero uno in the catering business, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. Well, believe it or not, this is going to shock you, but no commitment today for Clemson, at least not as of this time. So they've gone commitment-free today after being on a run since last Friday. Wide receiver Ryan Mosley of Carrollton, Georgia, off and running on a long string of spring visits. Tuesday he was at Georgia. Last Saturday he was at Clemson. A visit to South Carolina is coming up. On3 is projecting him to Georgia at present time. And after meeting with Dabo Swinney, receivers coach Tyler Grisham, however, the Tigers are right in the fight with him right now. He said they told him they've got 2 commitments. They're going to take one more receiver is what they've told him. But he's not ready to make a decision. South Carolina's going to have him back on campus to watch a spring practice March 21st. Shane Beamer, Mike Furry, they've been on him actively. He visited the Gamecocks 3 times last year and was also in on February 1st. So he talks to them pretty regularly. Coming up, official visits, Texas A&M, Florida, Florida State, Tennessee, Alabama, and Penn State. As for officials, Penn State, May 16th, Georgia, May 23rd, USC, May 30th, Texas A&M, June 6th, Nebraska, June 13th. He said after the spring visits, he'll be in position to identify a clear-cut favorite. Former South Carolina commitment quarterback Landon Duckworth of Jackson, Alabama, per Hayes Fawcett of On3. By the way, in my next life, I'm going to be a recruiting website, internet graphic designer, so I can get all the commitments from the kids. I mean, that's how it works now. You got to give them something to get something. We can't give them anything. I guess we could pay them. We could start their NIL career out early. That means I'd have to pay you guys less. If I took away from y'all to pay them, how would y'all feel about that?
Yeah, I'm not big on that. They can fend for themselves. Josh and I got to get paid.
Anyway, Landon Duckworth has set official visits to Georgia May 30th, USC June 6th, Florida State June 13th, and Ole Miss June 20th. He just led his high school to a state basketball championship, so he didn't get out on the road much this spring until Monday when he went to North Carolina. Dorman safety Contavian Anderson thought he might do something today, though I had no reason to feel that way except for what he's been tweeting. Appears to be a strong Clemson lean after posting on his X account a comment about new Clemson commitment, Caden Gebhardt, being his, quote, future duo. Anderson was at Clemson Saturday. Clemson target defensive end Dre Quinn was at Georgia yesterday. Clemson target receiver Craig Dandridge was at Florida Tuesday and was offered. Clemson target offensive tackle Cannon Pickett going to Florida State this weekend. Gaffney quarterback Javon Gilmore, an Arkansas commit, was offered by Georgia Tech. USC target receiver Brody Keefe of Charlotte was at Florida today. Clemson and USC target running back Carson Baker offered by West Virginia. South Carolina and Clemson target offensive tackle Darius Gray was at Tennessee today. And South Carolina target defensive tackle Brian Harris of Jacksonville was offered by Michigan. There you go with recruiting tonight here on Sports Talk. Check it out on our website, SportsTalkSC.com. On our X, make sure you follow us on our X. Just type in ST Recruiting. That'll take you to all that. Of course, our X, make sure you follow us there at SC Sports Now. That's SC Sports Now. And we'll be back with SC Wild.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. Clear and cool this evening with a low dipping down to 49. Tomorrow it's more clouds than sunshine. The high temperature is 76. For Friday, look for a blend of sunshine and clouds and a high reaching 78. While on Saturday, late showers are possible. For Sunday, pretty nasty. We're going to have thunderstorms. Heavy rain is expected. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
Hey y'all, this is Ted from Flight Deck Restaurant. We'd like to invite you and your family to dine with us. We have a great menu that's sure to please your whole family. We have fresh cooked burgers, big juicy wings, blue plate menu featuring country cooking, oven baked hoagies, fresh crisp salads, authentic Greek food like gyros, souvlaki, and baklava. We also carry 20 different premium cheesecakes and pies. Flight Deck Restaurant also has an arcade with 30 different games like Star Wars, Batman, Skee Ball, Bass Wheel, Pac-Man, Galaga, and so much more. Flight Deck, your favorite family restaurant. Thanks y'all and God bless.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters reporting a launch pad problem has forced a flight delay to replace NASA's 2 stuck astronauts. The new crew needs to get to the International Space Station before Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams can head home after 9 months in orbit. Concerns over a critical hydraulic system arose less than 4 hours before the Falcon rocket's planned evening liftoff from Florida's Kennedy Space Center. The decision to cancel finally came down with less than an hour remaining in the countdown. New Mexico has paired up with the Alzheimer's Association in a pilot U.S. initiative aimed at raising awareness about a disease that affects several million people in the country. The relationship with the nonprofit group has been a year in the making. It was unveiled Wednesday, days after authorities confirmed actor Gene Hackman died at his Santa Fe home of complications from Alzheimer's. SRN News.
When your pipes panic, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning steps right in, fast and friendly. Josh and his team aren't just fixing leaks, they're restoring your peace of mind. This is when you're at your most vulnerable. You got a problem, you need a solution. They're not coming out to upsell you or talk you into something new, this or new that. You'll appreciate their process. They'll tell you what needs to get done and what it'll cost before they ever even bring in their tools to start the work. They're locally owned, which unfortunately is no longer the norm in the Midlands. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning will treat every home like their own. They've done work for me, for my brother, countless numbers of Point listeners. Dial 799-2222 or visit franklinplumbing.sc.com and you tell them Kev from The Point sent you. You will experience plumbing that's more than just a fix. It's a solution from people who care about their work and stand by it. When you need them, please don't panic. Just call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, 799-2222.
Experience South Carolina's printing powerhouse. Professional Printers is your trusted partner, bringing over 30 years of expertise in print and graphics. From digital printing to web and sheet-fed solutions, we handle it all with a team of over 100 dedicated professionals. Locally owned and operated, we have 2 locations in the Midlands and serve our customers with pride, ensuring top-notch service and quality in every project. We do it all, including storage and promotional products. Visit ProPrinters.com and elevate your printing experience with us.
This is Fran Halloran, the Money Coach. Grow with The Point as we build on 10 incredible years of community local radio. We've built an environment where our listeners are our family. Are you a small business with big dreams? Join the tremendous stable of advertising partners at The Point. Connect with Kevin Cohen and brainstorm a tailored strategy to escalate your business growth using the powerful platform of The Point. Call Kev directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, you can make the next year your best year.
Tax season is the perfect time to think about long-term goals like your children's college savings plans. We've been doing it for years. We've had the Future Scholar 529 program for both my Hayden and Jacob, and it has been a blessing. It's not too late to get a state tax deduction even for 2024. Contributions made to your Future Scholar account before the tax filing deadline, which is May 1st this year, can be claimed as a state tax deduction for 24 or 2025. This is a great time to get involved. Every single penny that you put in is tax deductible on your tax return, and in addition, you pay no federal or state tax when you withdraw the funds to use for expenses. I'm talking about how to pay for tuition or how to pay for the books or the fees or the computers or the room and board because you've got the Future Scholar program. If you want to get started, now's a great time. Any amount will get you started and anybody can contribute to your Future Scholar. Go to futurescholar.com for more information. futurescholar.com. Remember, no state funds are used to market Future Scholar, and the Future Scholar 529 program is administered by the Office of the Treasurer, Curtis Loftus.
It's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to answer your questions about the great outdoors. Call in now at 888-898-2525 and join SC Wild on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Time for another outstanding edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources here on Sports Talk. What a beautiful day it's been, well, here in Nashville, and I'm sure back in South Carolina. It feels like a time to get outside and do some wonderful things in the outdoors. And here to tell us all about it, including a focus on turkey hunting, which is always big on the mind of Major Downer, especially with the Sportsman's Classic coming up in a couple of weeks. Welcome in Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources and a special guest. Major, take it away. How are you?
Phil, always great to be a part of the show. It has been warm. We had a few cool nights, but golly, it was warm this past weekend. Ooh, it was nice and warm. Boating weather for sure. People want to get out and enjoy the waterways across South Carolina. But yes, tonight we're going to be talking turkey. If I wasn't on the road, I'd be scratching a turkey call for you right now. But I promise I will do that next time. We are joined tonight by a special guest who is not unfamiliar to the show, Jay Cantrell. He's the assistant big game program project leader. Jay, thanks for being on the show with us tonight. We're going to talk about turkeys. Jay, let's talk about turkey season, and let's talk about what the changes are this year.
Okay. Yeah, we've got quite a few changes in place that occurred due to the legislation that the General Assembly passed last year in the spring and summer. And just to give a little background on that, I know we've talked about it on this program before, but we've seen really a couple of decades of declines in turkey numbers across the state and really across the Southeast. And due to that, there was a lot of research and surveys and meetings and gnashing of teeth. But we finally last year worked with the General Assembly and got some changes in place to hopefully address some of those declines. So what we've got to start with is new season dates.
That's right. This is a big deal, folks, so please pay attention to this. The season does not open in March.
That's right. We're out of the March stuff except for a little bit of a youth weekend. But now we have a single statewide season. We've kind of been back and forth over this over the years. Typically, we've had split seasons with the Low Country opening earlier than the Upstate. But we're to a single statewide season on private and public lands, same season, and it starts April 3rd and goes for a month till May 3rd. So the new season dates across the state, public and private land, April 3rd to May 3rd. So that's a significant change that people need to be aware of. The other big change is that bag limits have dropped, and we'd gone from several years ago a bag limit of 5 down to 3. And now we're at 2. So the bag limit is now 2 for the season. And like it's been the last several years, one per day. Go ahead.
That's right. And only one that first
the first week
through the 10th. That's right.
Yeah.
Through the 10th.
Yeah.
Only one got.
Yeah. So we had, the past several years, one the first 10 days. Now the season's starting a little later. So it's one prior to the 10th, or basically the first week of the season, you can kill one bird, and then after that, you can kill another, or both of them after that. But one a day, one the first week, and it's the same for residents and non-residents now. We had for a few years some differential there where non-residents had a lower bag limit, but for residents and non-residents, 2 per season. And the other thing that's kind of a significant change that goes with that is those 2 are can only be adult gobblers now. The legislature put in a prohibition on harvesting jakes, the juvenile turkeys, juvenile males, in hopes of saving some more birds. And those birds are based on breeders, and so when people are harvesting those birds would really never had a chance to contribute to the population. So. And we didn't harvest a lot of jakes in South Carolina. Our hunters were pretty selective anyway, but it will be, a savings and allow those birds to reach another year of age and actually reach breeding age. And so hopefully that'll have some benefits as well. But jakes have a legal definition. I think most turkey hunters know what a jake is. There's a lot of ways to determine it. But as far as the legal definition, it's a bird with a beard less 6 inches long and a tail fan that's not fully developed, with the center tail feathers being longer than the rest. And most turkey hunters are familiar with that jake fans look different because they're molting and getting their adult feathers, and usually they only have some of the middle feathers in the tail fan that are full length, and the rest are shorter. So that's the main thing you're looking for, is that, and then obviously the beard. And you're not going to find a Jake with a beard more than 6 inches anyway. So it's a pretty easy definition there. But that is something new as well. So people need to be aware of that.
Jay, let me go back through that real quick. So the major changes, I know there's a few more things we'll discuss, but the major changes right now for people to understand is the season does not open until April 3rd. And
Correct.
will go through May 3rd, and that's statewide. So all those that didn't like somebody couldn't shoot in the lower part of the state, or could shoot in the lower part and they couldn't shoot in the upper part, it's all the same, which I like that. I know our officer corps really likes just being the same, April 3rd to May 3rd. So that's great. Second thing, the limit is now 2 gobblers. It's always been gobblers anyway, gobblers. But we now have a restriction on Jake, so you cannot shoot a Jake. So it would be illegal to shoot a Jake, and a Jake is defined as a bird that has less than 6 inches of beard and a tail that's not fully developed.
Correct.
And the tail
and we've heard some things from folks.
Would be that bird, for those that turkey hunt, you know what we mean. For those that don't, a Jake, the center feathers are really tall, and then it juts down. The outside feathers are much shorter. They don't have a full fan yet. I know first thing that someone's going to say right now in their head, they're thinking it right now. What about birds that have fed in the fire or they have beard rot?
Yep.
Well,
yeah, and that
again,
we're hearing that, and that again, you have to have both of those to qualify as a Jake. So if it's an adult bird, it's going to have a full tail fan, and so it would be a legal bird regardless of the beard length. Because there are a small percentage of adult birds for various reasons. Beard rot is commonly called. It's a pigment deficiency that causes the beard to get brittle, or like you say, burned off, or injury, or various things. And some just genetically don't have a beard. So there are a small number of adult birds that have a short beard or no beard. That's fine. Those are still legal because they're adult birds. They have a full fan. They don't meet both of the definitions of being a Jake. And hunters and our officers have common sense too, and there's other ways to determine adult from Jake, with body weights and spur length and wing feather barring, and but the main thing is nobody needs to worry about shooting an adult bird with a full fan and a short beard. You're still fine there.
Absolutely. So those are the 3 major pieces. Now let's talk about the fanning, reaping portion of it now. Go ahead, Jake. Explain that for folks that don't know.
Another thing that was added in to the legislation, and it's somewhat from a biological, harvest reason, but it's primarily for a safety reason. The practice,
and I'll address that.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, it's commonly known as reaping in kind of the turkey hunting world, which is basically sneaking up on a turkey while hiding behind a gobbler decoy or just a tail fan of a turkey, or a synthetic tail fan. So this is a technique that has become somewhat popular in recent years, and where people sneak up on turkeys, and so there's some people that think it's unethical or not fair chase or unfair advantage, but the main reason this came up is just purely it's completely unsafe. It's a dangerous practice, and that's really the reason why it's being banned going forward. So
now I noticed that we have a couple things on the e-regs. It talks about that being new. It's illegal. You can't do it on private land, and then later it mentions public land. It specifically talks about you can't fan or reap, and then it refers back and says it does not apply to private land. But it does apply to private land. It applies to all lands now. Just to be clear.
Yeah, that's correct.
That.
Yeah, there was.
And we're gonna go through some of the misprints. I know you.
Yeah, we can get some of that squared away, but that practice has been unlawful on public land for a number of years, and the language is a little different. On public land, there's something. It bans fanning and reaping, and it's getting into the weeds, but. Fanning is more when sitting or hunting in a stationary position than you're holding a decoy or a fan for concealment. So there's a little difference there. So what the legislature wrote for the private land is just actually the stalking or sneaking up on a turkey behind a decoy or fan. But on public land, all of it, you can't even sit behind a decoy or a fan and use it to hide from the turkey.
So I know right now, people right now are hitting on what you just said. I can't sit behind a decoy? Wait a minute. So you can't sit behind a fan on your gun barrel. You can't stand by, crawl behind that turkey sitting in front of you in your hand. You can sit 20, 30, 40 yards behind a decoy all you want, like we always have. I don't want people
can't use it.
Apart.
Right. You just can't use it for concealment right in front of you.
That's right.
To hide from.
So for folks that may not have heard this from a hunter education perspective, this has been a lot of hoopla, a lot of hype in the last 10, 15 years. There's been videos, countless videos on YouTube now, TikTok, reels of all this across the country. And it's amazing how close it allows the hunter to get to a bird, because it kind of flips that switch in that bird. That's a bird coming at me. They don't look what's behind it. They're just looking at the bird coming. I know in the past, my son has done that with a friend hunting. They said the bird about ran him over with the decoy. Of course, that's illegal now, but that was way back. But the other thing is, and this is my caution, we've had enough accidents and we've actually had fatalities where people have been shot turkey hunting because they were misidentified for a turkey while sitting camouflaged on the ground, not holding the bird, just simply waving their hand to somebody to let them know they were there, and the person's so focused on a movement they shoot. And that has happened more than once, more times than we want to talk about. And so this is absolutely something that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing not to be holding a decoy in front of you, because enough people are already mistaking people in the past. We've had people walking with a red handkerchief in their hand and being shot thinking they're a bird, a red, in most recent years, a red lighter, they think, or one of these red vape deals. Somebody shot somebody for that. So it really, when it comes to turkey hunting, identifying what you shoot, identify your target before you shoot. Don't get so worked up. We're calling, we're hearing birds respond, or we think we're hearing the birds respond. Your blood pressure gets amped up, and you make a bad decision. So putting a decoy that close to you like that is a bad idea, and this is a good thing to not allow it. So I just wanted to cover the hunter ed side of that, hunter safety side, to talk about some of the things that we've seen happen.
We've said for years from a hunter safety.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
From a safety standpoint, we've said to avoid that. Yeah.
Biology for a minute. I know that people across the state are seeing it this year. In the last year, they've seen it over the last few years. We're not seeing the birds we used to see in certain places. People are noticing that. Jay, let's quickly go over that because we're going to do this show again in 2 weeks, and we're going to go through all the rules again and all the differences. Kind of wanted to hit right now, why are we here? Why are we at this point?
Yeah, it's not
and
one
not
thing.
It's not just South Carolina, it's Southeast.
Yeah. It's across the Southeast and really even some other parts of the country now as well. The Midwest is kind of seeing it. But, and it's not just one thing. We can't point to one thing. If it was, it'd probably be easier to fix. But it's a combination of things with, loss of habitat due to development, quality of habitat decline due to changes in agricultural practices and forestry practices and just, again, development and lack of burning and timber harvesting and things of that nature. So habitat is a big part of it. Predation is another part of it. Probably, more predators on the landscape, less people, trapping and hunting raccoons and other things like that. And some practices that we've done that have kind of benefited predators. So that's part of it. But a lot of it too is, and the reason for the decline is low low productivity, low reproduction, low success of hatching and raising turkey poults every year. And so part of that, we believe, also is season timing and harvest rates. And so, we basically have been harvesting more birds than we were producing every year. That's the population just continued to go down and down. So that's the reasons for a shorter season and lower bag limits and protection of jakes, is to try to reduce overall harvest. So we're not going in a negative direction. We're actually producing more birds than we're removing every year. The other thing is season timing, and that's the reason for a later start date, is to try to allow more breeding to occur prior to the season starting, so hopefully we get better reproduction from more breeding. And so that was the reason to try to push the season later, is because it's occurring right at that point where we want to make sure we get as many hens bred by dominant gobblers early on, so we have better nest success. So that's, what's going on. There's, like I said, a combination of things: habitat, predation, season timing, harvest. There could be some other factors, environmental factors, or some disease stuff working in the background, but it's not one thing we can identify and say this is it. It's an easy fix. So we're trying to do things too to encourage better habitat management and more predator management. But the big thing we needed to address was harvest rates and season timing. So we're hopeful these changes will have some benefits, and we'll see things start to turn around in the next few years.
Right. So for folks who, when you say predators, automatically go to coyote, what is it? And we've talked about this on the show before, but I know a number of people have talked about in recent years, when they're hunting and they're calling, coyote shows up in the distance. What have our studies showed about, because we know we have a coyote problem in South Carolina, we do across the Southeast, but are they truly a problem on predation? What have our studies shown?
Yeah, the research has shown that for turkeys, they're not really at the top of the list. They will take a few turkeys, but coyotes are a bigger issue for deer. They do a pretty good number on deer fawns, and they do get a few hens and a few nests. But our research has not shown that. We've done some coyote studies looking at analysis of their diet during the spring and summer, during nesting and brood rearing times, and with DNA analysis of their scat, and there's just not a lot of turkey showing up in their diet. They're eating a lot of deer that time of year, eating a lot of fruit like blackberries. They're eating a lot of small mammals and insects. So turkeys is not a big thing on their diet. They do get a few. We're not saying they're not an issue, but they fall way down the spectrum behind more of your common nest predators, like raccoons, possums, skunks, foxes. That is a bigger problem.
And I've even heard recently that even now, I've heard people talk about buzzards even attacking the nest.
Well, there's all kinds of things. Buzzards, crows, rat snakes are a big one. They get a lot of eggs. I'd say raccoons and rat snakes are probably the biggest. And then you've got hawks and owls and eagles. I mean, it's a long list of things that want to get a hen or an egg or a young turkey poult. Bobcats. Coyotes are in there, but they get blamed for a lot of things that they're not really to blame for. And actually, when it comes to nest predators, they probably coyotes are going to take some of the things that are big egg eaters. They're going to prey on raccoons and possums and armadillos and things of that nature. So they're doing a little bit of good and a little bit of harm. So I don't place a lot of blame on coyotes for the turkey decline. I mean, people, they do see them come into a call. That's, just a coyote doing what it's going to do. It hears a hen, it's curious, it's going to come in there. But they're not that effective. They're not an ambush predator like a bobcat. they're just not that effective at taking a turkey. So the main thing, is if people want to do predator management on their properties, would be to focus more on the traditional things that get nests, like raccoons and possums and maybe some foxes. That's going to get you a lot further down the road than worrying about coyotes.
All right, well, let's finish up tonight on youth dates. Our youth dates and the rules around our youth season. So I know, yes, the season does not start until April 3rd. However, Youth Day is?
This year it's March 29th and 30th is a weekend on private lands. It's March 29th, just that Saturday on public lands on WMAs. So it's basically the weekend prior to April 3rd, so however the calendar falls in a given year. But, yeah, this year, March 29th and 30th, and March 29th on public land. And now, something new this year with the changes, we added an additional youth weekend after the season. So we've got May 10th and 11th, the weekend after it closes on the 3rd for private land statewide, and then May 10th, that Saturday on WMA land. So there's double the opportunity for special youth days this year, before and after the season. As far as the bag limit for that, the legislature, was generous with providing more opportunity, but they realized that harvest is overall harvest is important, and youth do take their share of turkey. So it's a combined bag limit for all both the youth weekends of one gobbler, so kids can.
Right. So if you take a bird as a youth that first weekend, you can't go the second weekend.
Correct. Well, not
you don't
necessarily. Well, yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's only one.
You can't take but one.
Yeah, you can't take but one. So if you take one the first weekend, you can't go the weekend after the season. And if you've reached your limit by the end of the regular season, if you've killed two birds, you can't go that and make, because this one bird and it counts towards your season limit for you. Right. So people need to understand it's a special opportunity, extra days, but it's not extra turkeys.
All right, so we're going to wrap up tonight and remind folks in 2 weeks we'll be back. We'll have Jay Cantrell back. We're going to go through some of go through all the rules again, talk about turkey tags, prices, because those cost now, what some misinformation is out there, and just remind folks about the season when we get there. But tonight, Jay, thanks for being a part of the show tonight. Thanks for talking turkey with us. And Phil, we'll be back gobbling or scratching that call in 2 weeks.
We look forward to that, Major. And, Jay, thank you so much. I love turkey season because I know the Major loves turkey season. And we appreciate y'all being on with us and sharing that information tonight. That is tonight's edition of SC Wild with Major Billy Downer. Special guest Jay Cantrell tonight from the Department of Natural Resources. Okay, South Carolina leading Georgia State 6-1. They're in the bottom of the fourth. And let's see, 44-24, Mississippi State leading LSU at the half. Thank you, Mr. Bergen, and thank you, Plummer.
Enjoyed it.
We will be back in Columbia tomorrow night, and we will carry on, and we'll have Smitty at the ACC. We turn our focus on those Clemson Tigers. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.